November 27, 2014, from Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. It was the Seattle Seahawks versus the San Francisco 49ers in this battle for second place in the NFC West between these two division rivals. The Seahawks won the toss and they elected to defer, so the Niners would take over first in this game. They start on their own 13, but after 5 plays, they would punt the ball to Seattle. So the Seahawks would take over on their own 26 with about a little less than 13 minutes on the clock in the first, but they would go 3 and out on their first possession. So they would punt the ball to San Francisco. So now the Niners would get the ball on their own 31 with a little over 10 minutes left in the first, but on 3rd and 5 from the 36, Colin Kaepernick was sacked for a 7-yard loss by Cliff Averill, and that would bring out the punting unit as the Niners went 3 and out. So now Seattle would take over on their own 21 with about 8.5 minutes left in the first, and they would go 3 and out as well. So now it was San Francisco's ball on their own 28 with about 7 minutes on the clock, and they would be faced with a 3rd and 8 from the 30. Colin Kaepernick dropped back to pass, and it was none other than Richard Sherman who intercepted him and gave the ball back to Seattle on the San Francisco 45 with about 5.5 minutes left in the first. Then on 3rd and 7 from the San Francisco 42, Russell Wilson went to Moeaki, and he picked up 3 yards, and a penalty against the defense for holding would make it a first down on the San Francisco 37 for the Seahawks. Then on 3rd and 7 from the 34, Russell Wilson went to Doug Baldwin. He picked up 24, and it was now 1st and goal on the 10 for Seattle. Marshawn Lynch lost 3 yards on 1st down, so now it was 2nd and goal from the 13. And Russell Wilson went to Turbin, and he picked up 13 and the touchdown to put the first points on the scoreboard as the Seahawks led the Niners 7-0. So now San Francisco would take over with about 1.5 minutes left in the first. They had it on their own 20. But on 3rd and 4 from the 26, Colin Kaepernick dropped back and he hit Stevie Johnson. He picked up 7 and the first down at the 33 as the first quarter came to a close. So after 1 quarter of play, the score was Seattle 7, San Francisco nothing. So to begin the second, it was 1st and 10 on the 33 for the Niners. But their drive would end up stalling on their own 24, and they would end up punting the ball. So now it was Seattle's ball on their own 35 with a little less than 14 minutes left before halftime. They would end up faced with a 3rd and 9 from the 36, and Russell Wilson went to Moeaki, and he picked up 63 yards and brought the ball all the way down to the 1-yard line to make it 1st and goal for the Seahawks. Marshawn Lynch then got stuffed for no gain on 1st down, and Russell Wilson got sacked for a 1-yard loss by Brooks on 2nd down. So now it was 3rd and goal on the 2, and an incomplete pass would bring out Stephen Hauschka to attempt a 21-yarder. It was up, it was good, and it was now a 10-point lead for the Seahawks with the score Seattle 10, San Francisco 0. So now San Francisco would take over on their own 20 with about 11 minutes left before the half. And after 4 plays, they would punt the ball from their own 35. So now the Seahawks would take over on their own 40 with about 9 minutes left in the second quarter. Russell Wilson then went to Turbin, and he took it 34 yards, having run 23 yards after the catch with the first down now on the San Francisco 26. Turbin then ran for 16 yards, and there was a penalty of illegal formation, though, against Seattle, so it would end up being 1st and 15 from the 31. So now Turbin, he got the ball again, but this time he only ran for 2, and it would be 2nd and 13. And then Russell Wilson hit Michael for a 12-yard reception, and it was now 3rd and 1 from the 17, but Turbin lost a yard. So out would come Hauschka to attempt a 36-yarder. It was up, it was good, and it was now 13-0 Seahawks over the Niners. So now San Francisco would take over on their own 20 with a little less than 6 minutes on the clock in the first half, but they would go 3 and out. And so now Seattle got the ball back with about 4 minutes on the clock. They had it on their own 22, but they would go 3 and out as well. So now, though, on the punt, it ended up being fumbled, and it ended up being recovered by Seattle. So Seattle would now have the ball on the San Francisco 40 with about 2.5 minutes left before halftime. And on first down, Wilson went to beast mode Marshawn Lynch for a 7-yard pickup. But then Lynch ended up getting a penalty for taunting. So now the game went to the 2-minute warning. And it was 2nd and 18 from the 48. Russell Wilson was then sacked for a 4-yard loss by Gerard Eddy. And it ended up being a fumble, but Wilson recovered. So now it was 3rd and 22, and they ended up with a 3-yard run, and now the punting unit would come out. And so the Niners would take over with less than a minute left before halftime, and they would end up with not really getting anywhere, and the half came to a close. So after one half of play, the score was Seattle 13, San Francisco nothing. So now to begin the second half, the Seahawks would have the ball on their own 18-yard line. They would be on first down. Russell Wilson hit Curse for a 17-yard pass. Then on 3rd and 4, Wilson went to Richardson. He picked up 6 in the first down at the Seattle 47. Then on 2nd and 4 from the San Francisco 47, Turbin picked up 5 in the first down that brought the ball to the 42. And then beast mode Marshawn Lynch ran for 33 yards to bring the ball to the 9 to make it 1st and goal for Seattle. But then their drive would stall. They'd end up going backwards. Russell Wilson actually threw a touchdown to Richardson, but it was nullified because of a pass interference called on the offense. And so now it would be 2nd and 17, and they would end up not getting any further. And now Hauschka would come out to attempt a 35-yard field goal after Wilson was sacked on 3rd down by Smith. The kick was up, and it was good, and it was now Seattle 16, San Francisco nothing. So now the Niners would take over on their own 19 with about 8 minutes left in the third. And they would end up marching all the way to midfield and into Seattle territory, but their drive stalled on the 22, and Phil Dawson would come out to attempt a 40-yard field goal. It was up, it was good, and the Niners were finally on the scoreboard with just over a minute left in the third, and the score Seattle 16, San Francisco 3. So now the Seahawks would take over with about a minute left in the third. Marshawn Lynch on first down from the 20 ran for 16 yards in the first down to the Seattle 36. Michael then ran for 4 yards, and the third quarter came to a close. So after 3 quarters of play, the score was 16-3 Seattle over San Francisco. So to begin the fourth quarter, the Seahawks had the ball on their own 40. It was 2nd and 6. Russell Wilson went to Curse. He picked up 17 yards, and it was now a first down at the San Francisco 43. Then on 3rd and 7 from the 40, Russell Wilson went to Wilson. He picked up 8 and the first down on the San Francisco 32. They would end up stalling, though, on the 28, and Hauschka would come out to attempt a 46-yarder. It was up, it was good, and it was now 19-3 Seahawks over the Niners. Lynch had actually sacked Wilson a couple plays before that. So now the Niners would take over on their own 21 with about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And they would end up marching to midfield, but on 1st and 10 from the Seattle 46, Colin Kaepernick dropped back, and he was intercepted by Richard Sherman for the second time in this game. It ended up being a penalty against Crabtree, but ended up being offsetting, as there was also a penalty against the defense as well. The interception by Richard Sherman would give the Seahawks the ball on their own 32 with about 7 minutes left in this game. They would actually get all the way down into the red zone, and they would go for it on 4th and 2 from the San Francisco 13, but an incomplete pass would end up turning the ball over on downs, and so the Niners would end up taking back over on their own 13-yard line with less than 2 minutes left in this game, and they wouldn't bring it out any further than the 30 as this game came to a close, and the final score, Seattle 19, San Francisco 3. And with the victory, the Seahawks have taken sole place of second place in the NFC West with the record of 8-4. They're 3-3 on the road, and with the loss, the Niners fall to 7-5. They're 3-3 at home. And in this game, Russell Wilson was 15 for 22 with 236 yards passing and a touchdown. He also had 35 yards rushing off of 7 carries. Colin Kaepernick was 16 for 29 with 121 yards passing and 2 interceptions. He had 17 yards rushing off of 3 carries. The leading rusher in this game was Marshawn Lynch. Beast mode, had 20 carries for 104 yards. And he also caught 1 pass for 7 yards. The leading receiver was actually the tight end. He had Tony Moeaki. He had 1 reception for 63 yards to be the leading receiver. Turbin, the halfback, actually had 2 receptions for 47 yards to go along with his 8 yards rushing off of 4 carries to be the second leading receiver in the game. And actually the leading receiver for San Francisco was their halfback, Hyde. He had 3 receptions for 38 yards. He also had 5 carries for 19 yards on the ground. The leading tackler in this game was Chris Borland of the San Francisco 49ers. He had 16 tackles in this game. Bobby Wagner of the Seattle Seahawks had 10 tackles to be their leading tackler. Both teams had 4 sacks. For Seattle, Wright, Bennett, Irvin, and Averill each had 1 sack apiece. And for San Francisco, Lynch, Brooks, Smith, and Gerard Eddy each had a sack. And the only interceptions in this game were by Richard Sherman. He had 2 interceptions in this game. He picked off Colin Kaepernick twice. So the Seattle Seahawks dominate the Niners, offense and defense. Hauschka put up 4 field goals in this game. The Niners didn't score until a minute left in the third, and that was a field goal by Dawson, their only score. So the final score in this one, Seattle 19, San Francisco 3.